I'm filling up my glass for the last time.
All right, let me fill mine up too, so I can ask you the final one that I have here of my questions.
Hang on, just would you want to move your microphone a little bit to the side, because now it's focusing on that and your face is kind of blurry. All right, good. Yes, not blurry, but it's just like I feel like you're in the back of your microphone. All right. I want to see your face, not the.
What do you mean? My microphone is beautiful. Don't you want to just?
It is, but so are you.
I know. I should kind of figure out a better setup for my microphone to kind of maybe come
like
from above. But I don't know. It's kind of like in front of me, right? Like
yeah, exactly.
What about this?
Yeah, that's great. Yeah.
Cheers.
Cheers. Oh no.
No, I agree. Yeah. All right. This is a personal topic, a personal question. Let me just read it a little bit closer right now. So, all right, yeah. And I want to ask this question because we both, and I think you know what I'm going to ask, at least after this sentence now that I'm going to say. It's something that we both experienced in life. It's something that a lot of people will experience at some point in their life. So I think it could be very helpful maybe for you and for me to give some inputs on this. So what I want to ask is, like, what have you learned from losing someone? And losing someone in this case, I mean, your brother, right? Yeah, that's the first part of that question. Then I have another one is but let me first let you answer that question. Like, what have you learned from this experience of losing your brother?
Ooh, what I've learned from it. Ooh, that's a big one. You said one for last, huh? Oh, well, it's an interesting question because I've asked myself that question a lot. You know,
okay.
What is it that I have learned from this, if anything at all? Because sometimes it feels completely meaningless to have lost somebody. You know, it hasn't given me anything other than just complete heartbreak and sorrow and grief and endless sleepless nights and sorrow and buckets of tears, you know. So it's just when I have better days and I'm trying to look at, I mean, the positive. I don't want to use the word positive either because it doesn't resonate with me, but useful probably is a better word. And
that's the better word. Yeah,
that is what you're asking too. So I don't know if I can even answer that, but what I can tell is that.
Do you feel okay talking about this, by the way?
Yeah, for sure.
I don't want to.
It's just it's a big question, right? So it's really, I kind of have to take it. It's like a process to kind of get to the answer, I guess. But I definitely feel it has given me the opportunity to have genuine compassion with somebody else who has lost somebody.
Yep.
Which makes me a person they would come to when they have experienced this, which is a very nice feeling, you know, to be able to be there for somebody who really don't have anyone else to go to talk to, because a lot of people would avoid talking about this at any cost, especially those who haven't experienced it. So when you have the experience firsthand, at least you can be a resource for somebody who's just going through this, you know. And I think that is nice in a very ironic way that you can share, you know, you can understand how the process that they're going through, the emotions that are running through their bodies at all, you know, types of, you know, time, or, you know, all that stuff. So, you know, I think that's that has, this is a nice thing. But other than that, I really don't. And it's also a little bit maybe about that whole gratitude thing, living in the moment, and trying to make the most of life. I think, I mean, I've always had that feeling, but after I lost my brother, I definitely got a wake-up call in terms of, all right, life is happening right now.
Yep.
You know. And so, but I've always, you know, had the thought, like, if an opportunity came to me, I would always consider it. You know, sometimes, most of the times I would say yes. But after this, I would definitely, you know, still have that very much in my consciousness in terms of, you know, this is an opportunity I want to take. Very often it would be. And just going, yeah, just being grateful for it, and just, you know, because losing somebody gives your life an automatic depth that you didn't have before. And that depth is actually valuable.
Can you for a second give some context to like when you lost your brother?
So, well, so then it's just that, because it is so easy to go through life and not really reflect on what's important and what gives you meaning and what makes you happy. I mean, a lot of people that I know, it sounds really sad when I say it, but it seems like they just live on the surface. You know, they just kind of go like, woo, 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 you, and they don't really reflect on what's going on behind the curtains. You're like, or on a deeper level. And if you ever try to bring up something in a conversation that is a little bit uncomfortable, they would basically just scoop it under the carpet or not even talk about it, and they just kind of like go back up to the surface because that's where it's more comfortable. But when you have lost somebody, you are forced to not be comfortable. You're forced down on a level that you don't really want to be, but you have to feel the deepest, the worst, the saddest emotions that you can actually feel. Feel them. So whether or not you want to have more depth in your life or your perspective on life, you will automatically get it because you have to. You know, you're pushed down there somewhere, you know, somehow. So, but of course, you know, then people can bounce back up to the surface because they don't want to be down there. That journey that you were on.
Yep.
While you were in that kind of dark place, I think that will give you more fulfillment, or give you more joy in a way. You know, because then you feel, at least for me, then when I really feel happy and joyful, I really, really feel it. You know, I'm like, you know, I really, I
well,
really
you have something to compare it to.
Yeah.
And that's what sometimes a lot of people do not have.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think, you know, that must be probably one of the few things I can take out of this.
The question together with that was like, how do you cope with losing someone today?
Well, I mean,
I'm laughing because it's such a hard.
It's a very hard question.
And I am not just. I mean, I know what it kind of feels, right? Feels like, so yeah.
No, but I mean, I've had this question asked to me before, and I mean, what? I don't even know how to phrase this. the only, I think, thing that, so when you have lost somebody and it feels horrible and you don't really see the light in the tunnel, and you think that you're never going to laugh again, you think that you're never going to feel joy again, or you're never going to feel anything that has to do with pleasure or anything, you know, when it's really that dark.
Yeah.
What I can say is, and this goes for, I would say 99% of the people that has lost somebody, that time will heal the sorrow, you know. It will be better in time, you know. You just have to give yourself the time to grieve and cry and scream and go to therapy and do all the things that you need to do to get yourself out of the tunnel, because there is a light in the end of the tunnel. Yeah. Even though you can't see it, and you might take you a long time before you see the light in the end of it, but there is a light. And even though you don't believe it, you just have to know that it's there, because it is possible to have a good life after you've lost somebody, even though, you know, you feel at the moment that it's impossible to have a life without your partner or whoever it is that you've lost. It is actually possible. The thing is that you still feel all the things that you felt before. It's just that you just have a little part of your heart that is, you know, a sorrow, and you will carry that with you all the time. So even though you feel like this enormous amount of joy, you will still do that, but you will still, of course, have a little bit, a piece of your heart that is carrying that little grief or that little sorrow, and that, you know, that you miss the person that you have lost. But you can still feel the whole rainbow of experiences and emotions on the good side. Yeah. So you will still feel the joy. It just feels a little bit different. That's all.
This is like such a common answer. I think, like for most when they went through this and lost someone, to say. But it's common because it's true. And it's hard to realize when you just lost someone, right? So, but it is true. But the hard part is giving time the opportunity to heal it to some degree. But the whole, you know, of having lost someone is always going to be there. It's, you know, it's never going to be filled up in a way, right? You're always going to have, you're always going to have lost your brother. You know, you've always going to lost whoever, right? It's always going to be there. So I think if I could just share with you what it's going to be a little bit similar in some ways. But so first, like what I've learned from losing someone, and that someone is like my dad then, is, and like it is quite similar. So it's quite interesting to also let me confirm again, like what you've sort of said, but and it's not like I would wish someone to lose a person, you know, like that pain, to go through that. I would never want to wish that upon anyone. But what it did definitely teach me, that I do feel sometimes people don't completely get when they haven't lost someone, is just the fact that life ends. And I feel like my dad definitely taught me that lesson, that, you know, life is ticking away slowly. You never know when it's going to end. Could be any age, could be so random. So just, you know, live life right now as much as you can, do what makes you happy. And it's can end anytime. And that lesson has really helped me to do quite a lot of what I've done in life, of like the travels that I've done. And so I'm very happy for that lesson, actually. So I think that's what I learned from losing someone. So it's kind of like the same what you said of not taking things for granted. And I think in the way of like how I cope with it is to kind of truly understand that life is not fair. And, you know, everyone goes through hard times. Everyone has some kind of unfairness to them. It's just how life is. Life is just not fair. And maybe it's not helpful for some, but it's helpful for me to just acknowledge that, yeah, life is not fair. It's just how it is. And then to mainly focus on the lesson that it taught me. That is how I'm sort of able to cope with it. To just focus on what my dad through that has taught me. You know, to not take things for granted and to sort of like try to live as much as I can now. That's how I'm able to cope with it. But again, the whole that it creates, it's there. It's always gonna be there. And sort of accepting the fact that it's gonna be a part of you now. And that's not easy, but you learn to deal with it after a while. You learn to acknowledge that it's a part of you. And that's sort of the thing that I said at first, that life is not fair. You know, you didn't want this, you didn't ask for it, but it is how it is now.